Your first headliner comes from the old township of Newcastle. I know that we're in Chatham, so maybe get into a couple of scraps later on. He is a student of stand-up comedy and has been touring the region now for a number of years. And he recently opened up for Jerry D at Harbour Station in St. John. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my friend, Jimmy McKinley.
Miramichi, how are ya? This is a dream come true, being at the Vogue Theater. Woo! 17, I hope this is not the same stage that was here 20 years ago. I'm gonna go through it tonight. Give it up for Sean Lawler. Mark Burnett for putting this up. And as a true Miramichier, in true Miramichi fashion, I stole a beer from Dad's fridge tonight. And by the way, can we comment on how small this stool is? This is back when the average Miramichier was 85 pounds. Back in 1776. Get this beer open. We were gonna host the, oh my God. We're gonna edit that out. We were gonna host the after party at the Opera House, but nobody returned my emails. I haven't been home in a while. What's going on? I remember that was the second best place that we would sneak into. The first best place we'd sneak into was the Vogue Theater years ago. I didn't even know where to park tonight because I've never actually driven myself to the Vogue. Because I was so young, and my dad would drop me off. But he didn't like coming to Chatham because we're from Newcastle. He wouldn't even stop the car. He would just sort of slow down a little bit like Kingston's, and I would just roll out of the car and pop up into Titanic. And then Natalie Poser stood me up in grade 8. But it didn't make a difference because every third seat at the Vogue was broken, so you couldn't even sit next to the girl who was going to be your future ex-girlfriend. I was upset about that, and my grandmother, I remember she took me over. My grandmother lived right next door, and she sits down, and she's having a smoke and a little glass of Pepsi. Playing bingo, and she had 30 tickets of bingo all over the floor. I don't know how she did it. And she told me this little story, and may I tell you a little story that my grandmother told me, dear to my heart. She said, Jimmy, you never get hung up over a girl. Let me tell you a story of a little monkey I knew named Geppetto. I just made that up. She's like, Geppetto was out for a walk one day. And he sat down on a train track to have a little smoke. And a train came by and lopped his tail off. He turns around to pick it up. Another train comes by, lops his head off. And she said, Jimmy, what's the moral of the story? I said, Grammy, I have no idea. She said, never lose your head over a piece of tail. I was 6 years old. I couldn't even Google what that meant. Didn't exist. Like Windows 3.1, which is still on my parents' computer. It still has the brick maze screensaver. It's beige. How is this computer still beige? Oh, we'd sneak into the Vogue and we'd sneak into the Opera House. We had no idea why these places went out of business. We would sneak into so many places that we would just start to sneak into places we didn't even need to sneak into. I'd be like, there's got to be another way into the Night Owl here. You go in through a ventilation shaft, into Gallivan's bookstore, and you just come out through a VLT. Some guy trying to play it. I'll never forget going to the Opera House. Like, I'd spend the entire day. I was like 17 years old trying to get into the Opera House.